Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge, text number 2. Raja Vidya Rajaguyam Pavitramidam Uttamam Pravaksha Bhagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartum Aviyam Raja Vidya Rajaguyam Pavitramidam Uttamam Pravaksha Bhagamam Dharmam Susukam Kartum Aviyam Raja Vidya Rajaguyam Pavitramidam Uttamam Pravaksha Bhagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartum Aviyam Raja Vidya Rajaguyam Pavitramidam Uttamam Pravaksha Bhagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartum Aviyam Raja Vidya Rajaguyam Pavitramidam Uttamam Pravaksha Bhagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartum Aviyam Raja Vidya, the king of education. Rajaguyam, the king of confidential knowledge. Pavitram, the purest. Idam, this. Uttamam, transcendental. Pratyaksha, by direct experience. Avagamam, understood. Dharmyam, the principal religion. Susukam, very happy. Kartum, to execute. Aviyam, everlasting. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It's the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of self by realization, is a perfection of religion, is everlasting, and is joyfully performed. So there's an 8-page purport. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages. So obviously Prabhupada had something to tell us in this purport. I'll just read a little at a time. Maybe we might continue it on tomorrow or the next day and the day after that. This chapter of Bhagavad Gita is called the King of Education because it is the essence of all doctrines and philosophies explained before. Among the principal philosophers in India are Gautama, Kanada, Kapila, Yajnavalkya, Shandila, and Vaishnavara. And finally, there is Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedanta Sutra. So there is no dearth of knowledge in the field of philosophy or transcendental knowledge. Now the Lord says that this 9th chapter is the king of all such knowledge, the essence of all knowledge that can be derived from the study of the Vedas and different kinds of philosophy. It is the most confidential because confidential or transcendental knowledge involves understanding of the difference between the soul and the body. And the king of all confidential knowledge culminates in devotional service. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskatyade Siddharne. Again, Prabhupada is repeating that confidential knowledge is that the difference between the soul and the body. Now we may think that's not so confidential, but just like at the end of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, well, not in exactly the end, at the end of Madhya Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and also at the end of the Antya Lila, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj says, well, actually, I'm revealing some really confidential things here. But no problem. Because most people, like, he says, actually like pigs, like animals. And they won't understand anything I'm talking about. So there's no problem revealing it, because they won't understand it, whatever I say. That's why it's confidential. Just like we can go out in the street and yell out, you're not that body, your body's changing. Or as that song goes, your body's just a changing dress, meant to grow old. You've heard that before, that song? Change of heart, you've ever heard that? Oh, Govinda within my heart, celestial herdsman, lotus-eyed one. Your celestial gifts of love impart. Oh, you who stand behind the sun, you're the one. So that's in the Change of Heart by Mangalanarn. And part one of the songs is, hey, you're not that body. You're just a spirit soul. The body's meant to grow old. Or something like that. It's just a spirit soul. The body's just a changing dress meant to grow old. Meant to grow old. Meant to grow old. So we can go out and say that, no one will understand what we're talking about. Matter of fact, we don't understand what we're talking about either. So that's why it's confidential. Because it's only revealed by the process of devotional service. Otherwise, it's impossible. But there's something beyond that, the king of all knowledge, and that's devotional service. So we may not even understand completely we're not this body. We have to understand it to some extent. Otherwise, no one would be here. If you thought, I'm this body, you would think, what am I doing here? There's nothing to do here for the body. There's something, there's prasadam, but I don't think anyone's going to stay around just for prasadam. There's other things out there also. So one has to understand, at least theoretically, that we're not this body, otherwise we wouldn't be here. It may not be 100% clear, but there's enough understanding that keeps us here, at least for now. And then beyond that, there's a most confidential knowledge called devotional service. So we had enough knowledge to understand that we're not this body, and therefore we have to know something about what's called devotional service. Of course, we may not be through the whole day working in complete love and devotion. It's not that we pick up the glass of water and we look at it and think, wow, Krishna's a taste. I can't believe it. Our seeker stands on end and we roll on the ground after drinking it. We may not be on that level yet, but at least we have hope that by performing devotional service, we may come to one day come to that level, find out what we're doing. And Prabhupada writes, generally, people are not educated in this confidential knowledge. They're educated in external knowledge. As far as ordinary education is concerned, people are involved with so many departments: politics, sociology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, engineering, etc. There are so many departments of knowledge all over the world and huge universities. But there is unfortunately no university or educational institution where the science of the spirit soul is instructed. Yet the soul is the most important part of the body. Without the presence of the soul, the body has no value. Still, people are placing great stress on the bodily necessities of life, not caring for the vital soul. So there's just an observation that they're spending literally hundreds of billions of dollars on so-called education. And if you go to the people and you ask, can you give us $50 for our temple so we can educate people in Krishna consciousness, people think we're crazy. They don't want to waste the money. They think to find out, to do an experiment with a rat, to find out what's the effect of this drug on the rat's, sex life, that's very valuable. They'll spend millions of dollars. Like when I went to the university, they gave the university I was at gave a grant for $90,000, which is like probably $300,000 or so now, to someone to study why spiders build webs. And guess what the conclusion was? After spending $90,000 on the project, do you know what they concluded? To catch flies. So they're wasting all this money, for things that have nothing to do with the self. Now, they don't take themselves very seriously, and we don't take them seriously either. Because they don't take themselves seriously, we don't take them seriously either. But the real seriousness is to understand who we are. And one who has some knowledge of that, he surpasses practically all the modern education. If you go to Harvard or Oxford, you're not going to learn that. You'll learn all kinds of other things, which I think is important, which the learned professors at the universities teaching this so-called advanced knowledge, very shortly they're going to leave their body and maybe come back as an ant. And all that advanced knowledge won't do them any good whatsoever. And even if they came back as a human being, they have to start all over again. They may have been a professor of mathematics teaching quantum physics or whatever. When they come back, they got to learn 1 + 1 = 2 again. They got to start from scratch. They don't take their diploma with them. So therefore, all this so-called knowledge can help them at the time of leaving this body, or it may even degrade them. And the amount of time that we're going to be existing within this body compared to our eternal existence has no meaning whatsoever. 100 years in this lifetime compared to eternity is meaningless. It has no significance at all. Just like if we gave everyone here 100 billion euros, it would be a lot. But if you only got it for 100 billionth of a second, it wouldn't make very much difference in your life. So in our eternal existence, this whole endeavor for materialistic advancement has no meaning for our real life whatsoever. It's just a waste of time. So the Bhagavad Gita, especially from the 2nd chapter on, stresses the importance of the soul. In the very beginning, the Lord says that this body is perishable, the soul is not perishable. Antavanti ime deha nityasyokta sharirina. That is a confidential part of knowledge, simply knowing that the spirit soul is different from the body, and that its nature is immutable, indestructible, and eternal. But that gives no positive information about the soul. Sometimes people are under the impression that the soul is different from the body, and when the body is finished, or one is liberated from the body, the soul remains in a void and becomes impersonal. But actually that is not a fact. How can the soul, which is so active within this body, be inactive after being liberated from the body? It is always active. If it is eternal, then it is eternally active. And its activities in the spiritual kingdom are the most confidential part of spiritual knowledge. These activities of the spirit soul are therefore indicated here as constituting the king of all knowledge, the most confidential part of all knowledge. So from the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, it stresses the importance of the soul, that the body is perishable and the soul is eternal. It is confidential. But it gives no positive information about the soul. Then Prabhupada writes, sometimes people are under the impression the soul is different from the body. When the body is finished or one is liberated from the body, the soul remains in a void and becomes impersonal. Not very exciting. That's why people want to hang on to their body as long as they can. Because after it, if they think they're going to enter into the void, it's not very exciting. There's nothing to watch in the void. There's nothing to do. It gets pretty boring staying. Wow, I'm in the void. How long am I going to be here? Forever. My God. Should have brought a crossword puzzle with me at least. Have something to do here. It's getting really boring. Even in personal Brahman, well, we can't imagine what it's like to have no anxiety. So it's almost like happiness. It's called prasanatma. Because compared to our present state of anxiety and misery, it's happiness. But it's insignificant. It's like if Prahlad Maharaj said, if the amount of happiness in Brahman was multiplied 100 billion times, it wouldn't equal to an atomic fraction of one drop in the ocean of devotional service. So try to figure that out. And Brahman is millions of times more happiness than we're experiencing in material conditioned life. So it's inconceivable. And even Krishna can't completely conceive of it because it's always increasing. So how can the soul, which is so active within the body, well, how are we active within the body? Can anyone say how we're active in the body? What do you do in the body? Are you swimming through your blood? Hey, let's go for a drive. What does it mean the soul is active in the body? No one knows? Yeah, that's all we're doing is desiring. But does anyone find that they're pretty active in their desires? Because of the desires of the soul, Krishna is arranging so many things, and we're quite active desiring. Now, in the spiritual world, when we manifest our spiritual, and when we're actually our spiritual body again, that's all that goes on is desire. But that desire is only to please Krishna, to love Krishna, and that's all that goes on there. And everything else happens because of that. Now, what that's like is all in relationship to all the other souls there. They're also desiring to please Krishna. So all the desires, and the souls have only desire to please those who are trying to please Krishna. So everyone's one in their desires, and there's a harmony of love and devotion there. That's all there is. And it's always increasing. Full of variety and different relationships, all meant centered around pleasing Krishna. And Krishna is centered around trying to please all his devotees. And they're all centered around pleasing each other. So, a lot of things to desire there. And everything that's here is there in its original form. So it's not that you go there, all you do is you desire what? There's nothing to desire because everyone's the same. No, all the variety that we see here is just insignificant compared to the variety there. But here, the variety is all dead. And we think, oh, this is real variety. But actually, it's all dead variety. But here, we're using all the dead variety to please ourselves and to seemingly try to please others. But there's no dead, there's all direct relationships. There's no in-between variety of things. There's all real variety, where all the variety comes from. And the whole idea there, the all spontaneous desire, because everyone's so wonderful and blissful there, everyone gives one so much pleasure, and Krishna gives unlimited pleasure. Therefore, one spontaneously desires to please everyone there, without any impediment eternally. It's not that you wake up and you think, I actually hate these people. What am I doing here? They don't love me, I don't love them either. No, there's nothing like that there at all. There's eternally spontaneous love because everyone and everything is so pleasurable there. Unlimitedly tasteful and pleasurable. And here we're just fighting to get a little bit of pleasure, and we're fighting with each other over it, over nothing. What we think will give us happiness, that winds up giving us more misery. Or very little pleasure at all. So I'll stop there and thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Maharaj, maybe you got this question before. But,
I'm sure this question. Since like time eternal, there's probably someone else might have asked the same question.
Still,
the universe has been around for a long time.
This knowledge about the soul and we are eternally active. Can you give like bring it closer to how can we explain this to people? Especially first, yes, we have to explain this to ourselves. But when we distribute books, if we say to
I wouldn't say
such things, or I don't know.
I wouldn't say anything like that when you're distributing books. If you want to distribute a book, want to hear yourself talk, you can say this. It's not going to help you distribute a book.
I mean, sometimes such discussions come. So.
Yeah, and wasting your time. Wasting their time, too.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else?
There's one question on the internet from Marcel. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. Is there a chance for a person that is strongly attached to impersonalism to be attracted with Krishna?
Is there a chance? There's always a chance. But that depends upon their association. Shukadeva Goswami was in the womb of his mother for 16 years, and Vyasadeva told him to come out, but he didn't trust his father. He thought, he's a householder. He'll say anything to get what he wants. His mother is probably getting on his wife is probably getting on his case. That's why he's asking him to leave. But I don't trust him. Because he was afraid he might fall into Maya if he left. So then Srila Vyasadeva had to go to Dwarka and bring Krishna. And when Krishna spoke to him, Shukadeva Goswami in the womb, he said, well, Krishna is God. He's probably... guess I should try to trust him. So then he got up and left. So there's a chance, but it's easier when Krishna comes and talks to you personally. Other than that, you have to get the good fortune of having the right moment to associate with the devotees. But most people, everyone in Kali Yuga, practically speaking, is an impersonalist. Because that's all they've been educated. So Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita that apparently people are philosophical. It's chapter 13, text 27. 26. Some of the people may, in this verse, particularly applicable in modern society, because in modern society there's practically no education in spiritual matters. Some of the people may appear to be atheistic or agnostic or philosophical, but actually there's no knowledge of philosophy. Some people are naturally materialists, sense gratifiers and speculators. But as far as real born-again impersonalists, they have not enough education to be a real impersonalist. They don't know Sanskrit. They never studied someone like Shankaracharya, Shrirak Bhasha, to become actually convinced of impersonalism. Because actually they don't know anything. They just heard from all the other crazy people. So they become crazy. But if they hear from the right source, they have the right attitude, then they can make some progress. Prabhupada said it was actually easier to convert the Westerners because they didn't know anything. They never heard, as he said, this hodgepodge that Shiva is God, or Indra is God, or Agni is God. They never heard it. They didn't know who God was. So when Prabhupada said who God was, they said, all right, he could be God for all we know. There were no other candidates, so I guess we might as well choose him. You go to India, everyone's claiming to be God. The people are confused from their birth. They were they're little kids and they look in the altar. 32 million demigods are on the altar, and they're all God. So for them, they believe any one of these people could be God. So when they hear Krishna's God, sure, he's God too. Why not? They'll never take it seriously. Therefore, like you take a place like Sweden, where they teach every religion in school. They're teaching it so that people can become religious? Not at all. They're teaching it so when they hear about religion, they sure, you have your religion. They're all the same. They're all mean nothing. So they teach religion in their way that people become immune to religion. So, they'll never take any religion seriously. That's the whole idea, not to make people religious. They're one of the most impersonalist countries in the world. They're 100% into sense gratification. But they teach religion just to make people immune to it. Anything else? Yes.
So she's asking a question, if I understood it correctly. She's asking if actually some souls that come to material world wanted to experience all these things that are going on here, or something like.
Did people who came to the material want to? Yeah, that's why we're here. That's why we stay here. Because we think there's still something to be enjoyed. Something we're going to miss out. We don't want to leave our body, not because we want to make advances in devotional service, but because we heard there's a new sequel to The Matrix coming out next year. We want to make sure we see it before we leave our body. Or we want to make sure our football team comes in, and we want to live so our football team comes in first in the league. What's that?
She said that, so maybe the soul just wants that experience, just.
Yeah, that's why we're here, for experience. Yeah, so go ahead. You can get all kinds of experiences. You can become a frog, and one day a snake will come and eat you, and you'll get that experience too. Unfortunately, it's full of fear, anxiety, and suffering. But if you want that, sure. There's plenty of that around to go. Yes.
Hare Krishna. You mentioned that this the most confidential knowledge is revealed unless we are engaged in devotional service.
Well, even confidential knowledge is not revealed completely. Yeah, without devotional service, we can't understand anything really, completely.
So if we try to engage other people in some devotional service, is there a chance that they get know better? Or
how are we here? How did we come here? I don't think we popped in out of the spiritual world. We came here because we heard from someone. We had enough piety that we began the process. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here either. And as we go out and tell other people, some of them will come too. It's not that, most people are opposed to becoming blissful, becoming fully conscious eternally. Most people don't have something against that. So if we tell people and we give them a possibility of experiencing it, then a lot of people will come. That's exactly what people are looking for. We're just living in an age where people have been trained up the wrong way, that's all. Okay, thank you very much. Grantaraj Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.